Hello and welcome back to CyFalls Eagle Vision. My name is Drew Corvera.
And I'm Mariana Hillatine.
And today we have two very special guests that are a part of the Scholastic Awards. We have
Leslie Laird, English teacher.
Emily Lara, sophomore.
And today we will be talking about the Scholastic Awards and what they can... I messed up. So starting off, we'll be starting a question from Miss Laird. So what are these Scholastic Awards?
So Scholastic Art and Writing is a contest that's done every year nationally, and students both, they can upload and send in art or writing. I teach creative writing here, so my class all sent in a writing piece, and it was gone for several weeks, and then we just found out about 3 weeks ago that one of my students, Emily Lara, is a gold key winner, which is the highest award.
Okay, that's awesome.
Thank
Congratulations to
Thank
you. And then moving forward, we have another question for you. How does it feel for being awarded this?
It feels kind of crazy. I mean, sending that in and thinking, oh, this is not going to go anywhere, and then it actually did is pretty crazy. I've never really been confident in my writing before, so having won this amazing award is pretty crazy. I'm really excited.
Well, congratulations
Thank
to you.
you.
So now that we've talked about you winning the award, how is this gonna go forward? Like, how is the event actually gonna happen?
So the gold and silver key winners are honored at a banquet, which is actually next Thursday, and it's in a venue in town, like downtown
Oh, awesome.
Houston. And I believe many of the students' pieces are read, or that there are copies of them around so that the banquet attendees can go and read other people's work. And it's pretty spectacular because family is invited, and it's really nice to be, recognized for writing at this age.
And that's awesome. So, who is this paid for? Who is this paid by?
So Scholastic is the only contest that I will ever pay for, because I always tell my students when we are submitting work for publication, they should be honored and want to pay us, not we're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
But Scholastic has such a great reputation that it's $5 an entry. So I imagine that over time that builds up. Everybody that's ever put a $5 entry in, it is some money, so that they have that. They also do scholarships too.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
this is not the end, may not be the end.
Yeah.
So after this banquet, they're still we are the regional winners, and then it goes to national. And so there's a ceremony in Washington D.C. or was it New York? It was New York. In New York City in June for the winner. So we'll see.
That's awesome. And so, do you have to re-enter a new piece of work, or
No,
it's
the
just
piece
it goes
that
by the same?
Yeah, it's the piece that I originally sent in, and that's
Okay.
the one that may or may not take me.
Keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So,
And I have a few questions. What is your passion for writing? When did this all just start?
That's a really hard question. I've been writing for a long time. I didn't really get involved into it until I was in 6th grade, but writing for me has always been my creative outlet. So I've been writing for a long time, and I decided to take creative writing because I needed some place, at the end of my day to be able to write and kind of express myself freely without any boundaries, and that's writing for me.
that's awesome. And do you plan on writing books, or where does your writing actually where do you see your work actually going into?
Oh yeah. I don't really do any personal memoirs for myself. I technically do a lot of short stories, and I do a lot of fiction writing, and it's always been a dream of mine to write books and to hopefully be a young adult author one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I want to go.
That's awesome. And have you uploaded any work other than this?
I'm really shy when it comes to sharing my writing, so a lot of my stuff I have stored in my computer, but I haven't really sent it out, and this piece is actually one of the first pieces I've sent out, and it won something,
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy.
Hopefully you keep moving forward with the work that you do.
Yeah.
And it keeps moving forward. So, what about you? Have you ever, how has your career gone into teaching? How did you move? I don't know how to explain. How did you get into teaching for?
So I have taught English for, this is my 24th year. I've taught creative writing. I was at Cypress Creek High School before this for 12 years, and I taught there for 10. This is my 5th year at Falls, and love it here. and this is my first year teaching creative writing here. I waited until I kept asking for it, but I kind of waited until I felt really secure in this building and in what I was doing before I stepped in to do creative writing. And last year was the perfect time for me or this year is the perfect time for me to start it here. Creative writing is like the best part of everyone's day when we're in there,
Yeah.
because it's just a big break and a big sigh of relief. And I love everything English, but that's just a whole different kind of writing. And my students all want to be there because I
Yeah.
asked for the class, which is great. So yes, I've done this for many years, and scholastic writing I've done it before, but it's a contest that's kind of a lot of work. You have to, everybody has to make an account, and you have to, it's kind of a lot,
Yeah.
and then you upload your work. So it definitely makes sense to do it in a creative writing class more so than in an English class where we don't have the time
Yeah.
because we are busy with curricula. So it was a great place for us to do this, and everybody had already been working on pieces. And so, as a matter of fact, Emily's piece, when she first wrote it, I said, save this. Don't attempt to publish it anywhere, because I think this is the one that you need to send in, when I knew we were doing Scholastic. Because we also attempt to publish other times during the year, or contests,
Yeah.
because that's kind of the point, is to get your work out there. But yes, I've done this before, never to the success that we've had this year. Emily is our gold winner. We have 2 silver winners in our class, and we had 7 who were honorable mention. So it was pretty remarkable.
That's awesome. And so you're strictly like just writing, or is it also like, are the classes together, which is in like art and writing, or is it just strictly just
No,
writing?
so the art teachers and I think independent students upload and send and create their art. You probably need to have somebody on your show from there too,
Yeah.
because that's a really cool thing. And the art in our school, they've won for many years, and multiple artists. So
Okay.
it's very cool.
That's awesome. So you don't actually have to be in the class to enter.
You do
No.
not. Anybody
Okay.
could have done.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, it just wasn't advertised well enough. And part of that is us as English teachers, we're, again, really busy. And so, yeah, we can put it up there, here's Scholastic, do this. But until you actually have the time to make you have to make your count and upload and revise and revise and revise. And that's why creative writing is a great place for it.
Which is awesome. So was the process like very stressful into like getting your piece? Like, were you like very nervous, or like did you keep reviewing your piece back and forth to make sure it was good enough to go in, or like how was it?
It's funny because the process of actually sending it in was more stressful than
Yeah.
actually writing the piece, because like Miss Laird said, I had already written the piece. It was my first piece that I ever wrote in her class. And I had already looked over it a million times, and I was like, okay, this is good. I like it. I like where it is. It's perfect. Sending it in was a completely different thing, because there's a million steps. You make an account, but on the account you have, where's your address? What school are you from? What's your teacher's phone number? What's their email address? Like, it was a lot of stuff. And then there was a lot of requirements of when you actually got the account going. You had to do certain things in order to actually be able to send stuff in. And I think the process itself took a couple weeks for everybody to actually send their stuff
Wow.
in. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't struggle with really my piece, but it was more the account stuff.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you really loved your work before
Mhm.
the process of like the stressing and stuff like
Yes.
that. So do you have any advice for like aspiring writers or artists out there that are trying to do the same thing that you are?
My advice to them would be just to kind of go for it, because I think a lot of times what stops people from doing new things or entering their things that they create into competitions is that they really don't know what they're capable of. And I think everybody has, a lot of potential to be something and to do something great. So I think just if you ever have something like that, whether it's art or it's writing, you should just go for it and be confident in what you write, because you don't know, you never know. I didn't know, so.
Yeah, I understand. And do you have a couple words for aspiring?
I thought that was really perfectly said. Just write at all costs, write, or draw or paint or whatever it is that you do, because yes, like you said, Emily, you never know. And don't be afraid to show other people your work.
Okay, awesome. Well, that was a lot of discussion. Thank you for the words and explaining.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
congratulations. So we're gonna take a quick break, but right now we have a short PSA for you guys to hear.
welcome back from that wonderful PSA. We have a few more questions before we end our show. So I remember you saying that you were kind of shy when you were writing your piece. Do you feel like you were more confident after winning this award?
Definitely. Knowing what I know now about my writing and that how it is something that people want to read, I feel a lot more confident myself. And Miss Laird has been so amazing, giving me such good feedback all the time and giving me a lot of constructive criticism that I never had before. And so I am at least 10 times more confident now than I am.
Okay. And as we were talking about, I was kind of curious. What is your piece about?
Okay, so my piece is actually about the Holocaust. It's the name of it is 1941, and I'm not Jewish myself, but I had always the Holocaust for me is something that I really loved learning about in school, and I always on my free time read about it. And so this piece is about glasses that were taken during the Holocaust. Whenever people were taken into camps, they got their suitcases taken away, they had their glasses taken away, all their possessions were taken away, and I wanted to write about that. And it was kind of a outside perspective looking in, and Miss Laird was so kind to read it, and she was really touched by it, and that's what it's about. Yeah.
Okay. And why do you feel like you should be writing? Like, what was your creation to start writing?
To just start writing in general?
Yes. Like, what made you just want to write?
I had nowhere else to put my creative thoughts in. A lot of people do it in music and they do it in art, but for me, I found a really good, safe, comforting place in writing. And like I said earlier, writing for me is writing with no boundaries. And I'm able to be as creative as I want, as imaginative as I want. It doesn't matter if it's fiction or real life. I'm able, through writing, to express myself, and that's kind of all I want in my day.
That's great.
Well, yeah, that's amazing. So I overheard Emily talk about how you helped her and read her piece. How do you get your word out there with your students? Like, how do you help them out to progress in their career?
So in creative writing, I generally have a suggested assignment, and then if there are people, like Emily is also working on a novel. So she's been working on a book this year. And so if there are days where she may try whatever the other assignment is, but go back to her characters in her novel, that's fine too. I just want them to be writing.
Okay.
And so I have kind of checkpoints throughout, and I'll just stop, or anytime, will you read this? What do you think? What is going on here? And so it's really taking every student from where they are and what they're writing to their next level. I try to get them to write in all genres. I mean, I'd love for somebody who never liked poetry to write poetry, and that does happen, and it happened this year, and it happened this year. But truthfully, it's really about just experimenting and writing well and taking that and going to another level and building confidence. I mean, you already had the gift, but now you understand that, yes, I can really do this, and it's really exciting about the class and about doing it with working with, I teach English as well, but writing creatively is a passion, whereas writing technically is a skill. And so having that all come together for me in my day is just amazing.
Which is awesome. And another question, so do you personally go out of your way to get their pieces out to the world, or is this all like taken in by the district? Like, does the district tell you about these award ceremonies, or like?
Okay, so what we do, we attempt to publish 4 times a year. It used to be 6 when we had 6 weeks, but at the end of every 9 weeks now. And so that can be contests. Emily found some great websites that also publish your work. The poetry one was a good one. And so every student attempts to publish, and some students publish right then, some students publish months later and we find out about it, and some don't quite. But it's my hope that they'll continue that after the class as well, that if they have something that they're really excited about as far as their writing goes, that they'll send it somewhere and hopefully be published.
Amazing, that's awesome. And going further into your career, so what do you plan on doing after high school?
Well, after high school, my major is going to be English. I do want to pursue a career in law, but it's always been at the back of my mind to, be an author.
Yeah.
And I do hope to have some free time to where I will be able to write in my career, whether it's in college or when I'm an adult. But someday I really do hope to, be a full-time author after high school.
That's awesome.
Great.
So, she told us that you have a bit of a novel going on there. What's
Yeah.
that? So, how's
Okay, so it's a work in progress right now. I've never really been a fan of sci-fi, but I found in Miss Laird's class that all my writing takes a sci-fi turn, and it's really weird because I think at the beginning of the year I started writing about robots and androids and all that stuff, but now as I've progressed, now I'm really into a book that I'm writing kind of like The Hills Have Eyes, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Something kind of a traveler gets lost at the side of the road. What happens? What is he gonna do? And that was actually a prompt that Miss Laird gave us. It was just a first sentence prompt where it was like, oh, write a story about someone that gets stuck on the side of the road. Where do they go and what do they do? And from that prompt kind of blossomed my novel about this guy who is in the middle of New Mexico, in the middle of like Roswell, Dexter, and all that stuff, and he breaks down the side of the road and he freaks out and he has no idea where to go, and he comes across this really run-down motel, and then later on in the story, come to find out it's not actually a motel. It's something more than that, and something more sinister, and something that he needs to get out of ASAP.
Okay.
Like
Well, that's crazy. It sounds like a good story. You might have to send me a copy when it's done. So, so you actually have inspirations such as, like, I know you just said The Hills Have Eyes and stuff like that. So, is there any movies that inspire you to do more? Do you pick off of like movies or shows that you see or watch, or even other stories and books?
Creating something original is really hard, whether you're an artist or a writer. So I definitely think my inspiration comes from, old-timey movies or TV shows. The robot story I was writing had actually come from a video game that I'd been playing called Detroit Become Human, and it was just a random video game about androids. And so from that, I was like, hey, why don't I, write and experiment a story with androids? And so I think it just comes spur of the moment. I don't really have specific places that it comes from. It just comes when it wants to.
So thank you so much, Emily and Mrs. Laird, for coming out talking about the Scholastic Awards. I kind of may want to see the ceremony myself. Sounds pretty interesting. Well, this is the end of our show.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of discussion done. I really want to get a copy of that novel because I'm really into sci-fi. That's my type of thing.
Oh, I'll send
So
it to you.
yeah, you'll have to send me a copy. But other than that, I really loved hearing from you guys and learning about the Scholastic Awards and what it does for other students and teachers. So thank you guys for coming out. This is the end of the show. Thank you guys. Hopefully we have more special guests and maybe we add somebody from the arts area of the Scholastic Awards to come out.
We do.
So yes, thank you Emily and Miss Laird for coming. My name is Drew Corvera.
Mariana Hudtide, have a
And-
wonderful day.
Yeah. I was gonna say more.
Oh, what part? Well, you usually never
I was
say
gonna say.
anything.
Reaching out, touching me.